What's going on, everybody? It's the Bulls Show, aka Aidan, and welcome back to another video. Ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to be looking at a very interesting article that is called How Good Are the Chicago Bulls?, where multiple people write their opinion on where they think the Chicago Bulls will be heading into the next upcoming season. Now, of course, I'll be showing you what these guys have said, and I'll discuss whether I agree or disagree with anything that they do have to say. I'll try to be as unbiased as I possibly can, because right now we just don't know what the Chicago Bulls are going to bring to the table next year. Are we that dangerous team that we saw in the first half, or are we that disappointing team we saw in the second half, or is the answer somewhere in the middle? But before we get started, please like and subscribe to the Bulls Show, turn notifications on, and let me know in the comments below your thoughts about where do you think the Chicago Bulls will finish. Also, if you agree or disagree with what these people have to say. I personally don't know these people, so if there are any people there that I guess are like really famous, or maybe you are aware of them, fair enough. Maybe if I see photos of them, I would know them, but I don't really know who these people are. We'll just talk about what they have to say, and ultimately, at the end of the day, if you know who they are, great. If you don't know who they are, well then these are just what some random people have to say. The article itself was actually written by SBNATION, ladies and gentlemen, so I do know what that is. And yeah, we'll just get really, I guess, stuck into it now. But before we go into that, I'll give my opinion right away. Right now, I feel the Chicago Bulls are an unknown commodity. We don't know what to expect from the Chicago Bulls. As I mentioned before, are we going to be that type of team that is going to be first in the Eastern Conference? Are we really that type of dangerous team that we saw at the first half of the season? Or are we going to be that disappointing team in the second half of the season? And ultimately, not many people have a clear, defined answer about the Chicago Bulls, and unfortunately, as Bulls fans, we're gonna have to live with that. As optimistic or doubtful as you are, everybody feels something very different. To be honest, we just don't know what the Chicago Bulls team is going to provide, and it's going to be up to them to really demonstrate how good or how disappointed they're going to be this season. We are going to get started on Daniel Porsche, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully I said his name correctly. Basically, what he had to say, not very optimistic about the Chicago Bulls. He said, "I'm sorry, but I just can't get there with this Bulls team. Last season's collapse was too dramatic, and there are too many lingering questions without obvious answers for me to feel particularly good about their chances at contention. There's little to like on the defensive end of the floor for this roster, and that's without considering the nebulous Lonzo Ball injury saga that remains incredibly unclear. A fully healthy Zach LaVine will help, but by and large, I'm not sure this Bulls team, as presently constructed, will be making it out of the first round of the playoffs." Huge statement there, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I don't know the credibility behind this guy, but I agree and disagree with some of these things. There are a lot of questions with no answers for the Chicago Bulls. I don't think anybody can deny that. There's optimism that those answers will be positive ones, but until we see the progression, until we see what we're like on the floor, I don't really have an argument with saying there's too many lingering questions with no obvious answers. That's 100% correct, and the chance of getting a title contention, if you ask most Bulls fans, we're probably not competing for a championship this season. But that's basically what he said. What I disagree with is the defensive end of the floor. Now, Lonzo Ball is obviously a big miss on the defensive end. Alex Caruso, which someone that no one really talks about these days, was out for so long for the Chicago Bulls. He's a massive constructor of that defense as well. We missed two of our best defenders. We are going to get one of them back in the regular season at the start for the Chicago Bulls. And with a fully healthy team, I expect the defensive end to be better than what it was last season. Again, hopefully with a year under our belt, chemistry-wise, you're adding in Dalen Terry, who is a naturally known defender, and it's the one thing he thinks that will adapt into the NBA very quickly is his defense. A healthy Zach LaVine, as mentioned before. I think the defensive end won't be as bad as we saw last season, but that's personally my opinion. Again, it's probably one of those situations where that's a question with no obvious answer at the moment, but I do feel like our defensive end won't be the biggest issue if we're struggling next season. I think there might be other issues that will go ahead before the defensive end, but I could be wrong. We'll go to the next one, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to show this next one. His name is Adam Spinella. And basically what he had to say is, "I'll be in the minority, but I really like the Chicago Bulls team. I'm optimistic about Patrick Williams taking a big leap this year. Adding another scoring option for the Bulls with DeMar, with Zach LaVine, Patrick Williams, and Vucevic. There are plenty of offensive-minded pieces to keep this team to keep the offense top tier. Their role players all buy into what they'll need to be asked to do and provide quality defense. Lonzo Ball, Alex Caruso, Ayo Dosunmu, and Dalen Terry, they're a tad thin up front, but 42 to 45 wins again feels really obtainable. So a little bit more of an optimistic approach from Adam here, saying he likes the Chicago Bulls team. He expects Patrick Williams to take a big leap, which I think most of us expect as well. And he thinks we're going to be a very good offensive team. And defensively, we're a bit short, but we can still provide quality defense. That's basically what Adam is saying, and a very optimistic approach. And of course, as Bulls fans, we love optimism. We love when people praise our team, and Adam came out and basically did that. And I think a lot of people would be very happy with that response. Again, I think saying 42 to 45 wins, again, is obtainable. It is obtainable for the Chicago Bulls, in my opinion. And I think that's the bare minimum, to be honest, that we should achieve. I think anything below that is very, very disappointing. But we'll wait and see what the Chicago Bulls can deliver. But I like the optimism. Of course, as a Bulls fan, I'm going to say that as well. I'm sure there are a lot more doubtful people as well that will be looking into this and saying, I'm not too sure if I agree with Adam. But time will tell. I like that he's taking an optimistic approach about the Chicago Bulls, because I do feel a little bit of optimism heading into the regular season. Move on into the next one, ladies and gentlemen. I believe his name is Jack Simon or Jack Simone. Hopefully I said your name right as well. I'm butchering all these names, I can already tell. But here's what he had to say. This one is so tough because the Bulls need to be lumped in with the Cavs and the Hawks. They're good teams, and they have the talent to be playoff teams, but they aren't as good as the top teams in the East. Andre Drummond was an underrated signing, and they managed to bring back Zach LaVine, but barring a Lonzo Ball breakout year, this is probably a mid-tier team fighting to avoid the play-in. Oof, very, very tough one as well. In terms of being lumped with the Cavs and the Hawks, to be honest, look, we were the 6th seed, so we can't come out here and be saying we're one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference. We're going to have to prove it. And people that say it, well, the Bulls are going to have to prove it for them as well. So I'm not going to... I expect the Bulls to be a top 4 team. That's what I want the Bulls to be. That's what I see as progression with this team. That's what I see making me believe that this team can be good for another year. We focus on the same core next year. That's the type of feeling that I have towards the Chicago Bulls. If we get into the top 4 of the Eastern Conference and we win a playoff series, we get out of the first round, I see that as progression. I see that as a building step. Being compared to the Cavs and the Hawks, I can understand the Cavs' point of view because they were very close to us for most of the season. And yeah, all of that, I can understand that. But the Hawks, look, I think the Hawks could be a good team, but I don't think we should be compared to the Hawks right now. The Hawks have a lot to prove to a lot of people. They came into the Eastern Conference 2 seasons ago, won a playoff series against the New York Knicks, did very, very well that playoff year, but was extremely disappointing the year after that. I think right now the Hawks are too unpredictable for us to be thrown into that category. We are unpredictable, but I don't think we're that unpredictable. I think the Cavs are obviously going to be the one that most people compare us to, and I honestly don't have too much of an issue with Cleveland being linked with the Chicago Bulls as well. The Hawks won. DeJounte Murray is a great player, an all-star level player, and look, you can argue they have gotten better. Hopefully John Collins is healthy. I don't know his status at the moment as well. They look to be a dangerous team, but I think they're a little bit too unpredictable right now. Andre Drummond is an underrated signing. We'll wait and see about Andre Drummond. I know many people know that they probably didn't want Andre Drummond as their first or as their priority signing for the center position. I'm sure a lot of people wanted different directions. But Andre Drummond was a cheaper option. He provides a lot more rebounding. And maybe that will help us more than people think. And maybe he can be a rim protector that no one really thinks he can be as well. So we'll wait and see about Andre Drummond being an underrated signing. I personally see that from his point of view right now. But as time goes on, will he be considered that? That's really up to Andre Drummond. Alonzo Ball breakout year. He has to be healthy to have a breakout year. If he's only going to come back halfway through the season, would I really call that a breakout year for Alonzo Ball? Probably not. If he's back early enough and he still has an incredible season playing really elite defense. His defense was historic last year before he got injured. And yeah, so defensively, if he has a breakout year even further, that's great. If he has a great offensive year as well, great. A mid-tier team fighting to avoid the play-in. I think most people would probably see that for the Chicago Bulls. So, again, that's up to the Bulls to prove people wrong. A lot of doubtful comments here. So, let's wait if the Bulls can deliver or not. Jeff Pratt will be the next one, ladies and gentlemen, as we look into what he has to say about the Chicago Bulls. He says, I wasn't a Bulls believer throughout the entirety of last season, and that is not changing now. DeMar DeRozan found new life in Chicago last year, and I enjoyed watching him succeed, but the rest of the roster underwhelmed. Zach LaVine's health is a major question mark for me, along with the obvious injury concern in Lonzo Ball. Who knows when he'll return to the lineup, and if he can even stay healthy when he does. Patrick Williams hasn't really impressed me, and Nikola Vucevic just doesn't seem like a good fit in this squad. I expect the Bulls to make the play-in, but miss out on the actual playoffs this year. Whoa, there we go. Probably the most doubtful comment in this entire situation, saying that the Bulls will miss out on the actual playoffs, saying that even if we make the play-in, we are going to miss out. Basically, in my opinion, this compares with us finishing 11th, because let's be honest, if we're making the play-in and we're losing the play-in, we're basically finishing around the 11th seed, are we? We may have made the 7th or whatever it is, but if we're losing them, you're basically finishing 10th and 11th and stuff like that. There's no difference to me, to be honest. If we finish 10th or 15th, if we're getting out of the play-in, it doesn't matter. So yeah, basically saying we're not going to make the playoffs. Very, very interesting there. Look, there are some things that you have to agree with. I think Nikola Vucevic, from what we've seen, some people would say he's not a good fit. I've said, comparing guys like Vucevic to Miles Turner, Vucevic is the better player in my opinion, but Miles Turner suits us better because we need a little bit more rim protection and we need a little bit more defense, and Miles Turner provides that. So I can understand saying he's not really fitted well for this team, but again, is that because we had a brand new team that's only really played one season together? Can we get better? Can he fit better next year? That's another question that we don't know the answer to. Lonzo Ball, again, if he can stay healthy, that's going to be very key. When he comes back, going to be very key. Don't really have a problem with that. Zach LaVine health is a major question mark. It is. We have seen him play 60 games before, but he has to be able to play healthy during those 60 games. Playing through pain is still going to be very obvious. You can tell when Zach LaVine is going to be playing hurt or not, and he has been playing hurt for most of the season. So you got to give him credit for playing through those games, but even when playing through those games, his health is still a big question mark. So all that being said, I don't really have a problem with that either. Watching DeMar DeRozan succeed, finally someone that's actually praising DeMar DeRozan. Feel like you never get that unless you're a Bulls fan. It seems like everybody just doubts DeMar DeRozan. But ultimately, disappointing. Patrick Williams hasn't impressed him either. Patrick Williams was out for most of the year, so I think that's just a stupid comment, to be honest. He played well when he returned. He had a very good 31-point game in the last game of the season. I think he had a couple 20-point games in the playoffs as well. To me, that's impressive. So I just think that's a comment not really educated on Patrick Williams. But again, that could be just some bias. But this is definitely the most doubtful comment. This is basically someone saying we're not going to make the playoffs. So look at all these comments. They all have something in common. They basically feel we're a mid-level team, or we're not going to make the playoffs, or it's going to be very hard for us to make the playoffs. That's what a lot of people are thinking. I don't know if these guys are Bulls fans or not. I doubt that they are. So that's what most of the NBA world right now, I would say, is feeling about the Chicago Bulls. How are we going to respond to that? Now we've got Jeff Clark, ladies and gentlemen. Here's what Jeff Clark had to say. The Bulls were the feel-good story of the year in the first half of last season. Then they had built an injury excuse for why they flattered in the second half. So do you buy the chemistry of a fully healthy version of this team? Or do you see a team that needs everything to go right in order to be a contender? I lean more to the latter, and I think they were overachieving early in the season. With that said, there are some good pieces here, and they shouldn't be a lottery team. But with the glut of good teams in the East, I think they'll solidly be in the play-in range. So basically around the same. A lot of people are predicting us to be a play-in team pretty much. That's what's happening right now. It's a tough one to take. You gotta open your mind to these constructive, analysis. It's nothing compared to that team was going to finish 11th, like basically finishing 11th from Bleacher Report, I think it was. DeMar DeRozan being the worst signing in free agency. DeMar DeRozan being one of the most overrated players in the last 10 years. that, in my opinion, there's no an analyst behind that. It's someone's opinion, and it's not a very good opinion. But these people, look, at the end of the day, you may not like what they have to say, but sometimes what they're saying is the truth. Sometimes their questions are questions that we have. So I don't mind when people criticize the Chicago Bulls. I welcome it. It's how we're going to improve at the end of the day. I do the same thing in all the game reactions. When I have a critique, I say it. When I have a problem, I say it and hope that they improve in the future. These guys are kind of doing the same. So I don't really have too much problems with what they're saying, but all I could do now is hope that the Chicago Bulls are listening to all of these and can prove people wrong. That will be the key for the Chicago Bulls. If they can deliver it or not, we'll wait and see. They're basically what they're saying is we're not as good as the best Eastern Conference teams, but we're borderline a playoff team or a play-in team, which is, we finished 6th, so we are borderline a playoff team that avoided the play-in. So that's where people see us. It's time for us to prove them wrong. Can we do it? Can we not? We'll wait and see. But thank you for watching, ladies and gentlemen. Please like and subscribe if you're new. I've already said multiple times, I predict the Chicago Bulls, or I don't predict. I think the goal for the Chicago Bulls is to finish in the top 4 and win a playoff series. If we do that, that will make me fully believe 100% that the team is heading in the right direction because we've made progress from last year. And that's all you can really ask for as a team. Then you make progress on what you've built upon, and eventually you can be a title contender and people will see you as a title contender. When you finish 6th in the Eastern Conference, no matter how good you were in the early parts of that season, people are not going to see you as a title contender. So we're going to have to change people's opinions and perceptions. And the Bulls are the only ones that can do that. So have a wonderful and safe day. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay tuned for more. Take care and peace.